Hello, hello, hello. Good morning, dear listeners. My name is Ironbound Ghost. Feel free to call me Ghost or Ghosty. We're coming to you today with a bit of a surprise, unexpected stream, because I may or may not have totally lost track of time. But the game, Magia Record, is going to be ending service tomorrow. It's been running for quite a while now. Good gracious. I want to say since 20-something. I can look this up. But I've been playing it for quite a long time, and I played the North American version when it was out, and the end of that came quite suddenly. Of course, this came with a little bit more warning. Since 2017, that's it. I get mixed up in the years there. But it's been a long time, and obviously the news says there's going to be a sort of successor game incoming. But, I mean, we'll have to see how that is. Right? So... Hold on, I'm just trying to get that information out there. I know anyone who really cares probably knows already. Something like Madoka, Magica, Magia, etc. Something like that. Like I said, we'll see how it is. I haven't actually watched any of the previews for it. We might actually see if we can do that later. Or not. Like I said, short, extremely unplanned stream tonight. Because as it turns out, I haven't been studiously doing all of my logins or anything. Perhaps I should have been. I haven't been caught up since Arc 1, really. But I figured we'd take the chance today to, use some of those free pulls that we have. And just think back on the times that there have been, just to be a bit maudlin about it. It seems I have a decent number of tickets as well as free pulls that are just sort of sitting here because I haven't been using them since the announcement for end of service. Actually, I guess we can start with who I have already, right? So like I said, I did play on the North American version, and to an extent, I made a certain amount of care to get back anyone who I rolled for there. So I actually these are sorted here. I played through when we had the Nanohawk collab, and made sure to spend my my gems wisely. Some more maxed out than others. I'm gonna be able to re-roll of that, right? Because I wasn't playing them concurrently, so I started on JP actually about 6 months after it started. I remember this had to be near December, near the end of 2017, because let me get the audio sorted out here. Hey, there we go. Let's make sure. Okay, this is coming through the right source? It is. Excellent. Right, so I started a bit late, and actually, what I can admit to this now. I suppose it's not like you can see my account details and the servers are shutting down now, but this was when things weren't quite so strict about the trade of accounts, right? Um, when I started playing Fate Grand Order, I just aggressively re-rolled until I got a nice starting saber, which took 3 solid days, which is a separate story in and of itself. Um, but for Magia Record JP, obviously I started a bit late, and what I really wanted at that time was, of course, the starting bonus Homura, which was a pre-enrollment bonus that you got a little code for. So there was that, and then for some other reason, I think I ended up not making a base account uh, of my own, and of course there was a lot of following of tutorials to try and get, obviously, the Japanese Google Play Store set up. I never really figured out how to set up the payment method stuff, so I've been kind of mandatorily free to play, I think, almost entirely until near the very end here. But what I did was I went on one of those, I don't even remember there was one of those services that was I suppose it must have been the services that often ship to the US, like Buyee or something like that. Only, of course, this would be just getting a digital code. I don't even think this was on eBay, although in retrospect, that would have been the sensible thing to not go through miscellaneous and sketchy channels. But, oh, and as you can see here for the Tart Magica event, I think I see... There has to be... Can I sort these by date acquired? Perhaps? It's by, No, yeah, I know we can. Hold on. That's more logical in terms of, what do you call it? Narrative... There we go. From the top, then. But yeah, so I bought one of those codes, and the thing is, they would only last for a certain amount of time after the pre-order date, and then they would expire. So when I realized that, that's when I finally, got in gear into ordering one, because I believe they would expire in December or something, or around the turn of the year. So I made my JP account then, and played it on and off. This is when I was still... my time was in some ways freer, and in some ways less free, I suppose. But I had more time for gacha games, and I was able to more or less keep up concurrently with this and Fate Grand Order at the time. And so for a while, I played this and the Japanese version of this, and I kept on hoping for an American one, of course. But I guess part of the backstory here is I only actually found out about Madoka quite late. Not when it aired. Several years later. This would have been in perhaps 2015, 16, something like that. We watched it in a group in a club, and we got up to like episode 8 of watching it weekly, and then I was like, oh, I should watch the rest of this, and then stayed up all night to do so, and that was a questionable idea, but the sentiment is appreciated, I suppose. And it really stuck with me, and then I heard, oh, mobile game, and I didn't know much about gacha games at all at that point. I had only barely had knowledge of Fate Grand Order, which of course itself hadn't, I believe, had only just been getting to an English version, right? Sometime around then, or maybe that was later. My years are getting mixed up. But at any rate, I didn't know much about it. I only knew some people who disdained gacha games, which, like, totally understandable. Gambling, it is. But the story was neat, even though, of course, sometimes I would, look up the translations, and sometimes I would hold up like a tablet or something that had Google Translate, or take a screenshot and run it through Google Translate, and that's one way to keep up with a story. Yes, you can see. I guess by date you can see who I got when. I think the account I started with, I just got an account where someone had an initial Madoka, because I wanted I wanted Madoka and Homura. That's what it was. But yeah, it was coming up on the end of the year like that. So to a certain extent, I just sort of looked at what everyone's expressions were doing and just sort of guessed at the plot, which in retrospect I probably could have used Google Translate more thoroughly and earlier than I started to. But that's that. There's only so much of my ingenuity I could use, and it was a long couple of years in there. They were very, very eventful, and I suppose you'll probably hear more about those as I better judge, what I'm to say about that. But so that's how I started off playing this, and then obviously a couple of years later, I guess it would have been 2 years later in 2019, in April or so, yeah. They I guess announced, or they started with having the North America Magia Record, and I was absolutely thrilled, of course, because I was like, I want to be able to follow along with the story. And again, at that time, there was another sort of block of time where I had more time to devote to gacha things. I was actually doing some work-related training at that time, and that happened to leave me with a period of time where I had an abundance of recreational time away from such duties as would require strange hours, let us put it. So I was like, yes, I can start playing this, I can read the plot, I can shill the game to everyone I know, which I proceeded to do, and I mean, I did that for Fate Grand Order as well. I frequently, when I get into a game like this, I just end up being like, have you heard of this great game? To everyone I think might be interested. So beware, I suppose, of that tendency. But yeah, so I played, and I kept up playing this for the, on and off for the 2 years. I think there was a lapse near in there for a couple of months because things were busy, as I said. And then I got really back into it on NA, where I could understand things. And I sort of went back and forth on doing the dailies here. Just because you can have them both installed at the same time, like the English version and the original version, even without using the... this is on an actual phone, by the way. I have daisy-chained my old capture card. In retrospect, I didn't need to use my old capture card. I was originally using a USB-C connection directly from phone to capture card, which only my old one supports for some reason. But then I was like, I have an adapter to go to HDMI, and that worked exactly the same as trying to use the USB-C because I had a setting on my phone wrong. Anyway, I worked that out, as you can see on screen now. And hopefully here... actually, I suppose I can check that myself. Give me a moment. Yes, that is working. Not that I expected it otherwise, of course. Because I had checked the audio was coming through my headphones, and it shows up in OBS. But I was like, is it actually getting to the stream? And I should have checked that a little earlier, but we'll iron out these issues as we go. Good that I sorted out the phone casting thing, though. That means we have a we have some options in the future. Actually, we could play some puzzle games. I've got the like the room puzzle boxes on my phone, and those are pretty fun, as well as some of the point and hidden object games. I do actually rather like those, so those can be short stream ideas at some point in the future. But anyway, that's an aside. Anyway, so I got really into, especially particularly obviously Act 1 on NA. Obviously, it didn't last too far beyond that for the end of service there. But I played through that and had some adventures. In terms of the gacha adventures, I was spooked many times by Rena here. So that I don't have many acrylic like standees of Magia Record. Actually, I think I might just have the one, but I made really sure to get. There were some like standees that I just missed out on getting interested in buying, but I made sure to track down the one of my favorite spook, and sitting up there on my shelf next to my miscellaneous collection of ever more figures, which I'll have to reorganize at some point in the near future, because good golly, such things as video game merch and VTuber merch do tend to multiply when you're not looking. And the prints, I don't have enough walls for this nonsense. Which reminds me of like 18 different things I would like to draw, but that's a separate issue. Once again, where was I? Yes. Playing North America, I kept up with that actually reasonably well until near the very end. Actually, I had to hurry around that point because it wasn't so much a matter of, I think, terms of service, that came on quite abruptly. I think, did we get a month warning and then the amount of time available expanded a little bit? It was something like that. It wasn't very long either way. It was sudden enough. Everyone was like, what the hell? But I wanted to get to the Walpurgisnacht fight and stuff, and that event was incoming, and I hadn't quite finished up the last parts of the story. I should probably fix that in the subtitles, because it's not a word I'm saying not often. I'll deal with that at some point. You take my meaning mostly. But yeah, then an end of service there was announced, and it was quite fraught. Like, obviously, when end of service was announced for JP, I actually I hadn't played the game in a bit, but I saw it on, I think, a news feed or possibly a message in a Discord I was in, because I was in some Discord, just some of the Magia Record Discords, and I mostly had joined them, I think, near when NA was announced as ending. A little before that, because I was following some stuff on like Tumblr. Some neat people on there, highly recommend. They do good, like Muffin Record or some others, do good analysis work and whatnot. But they so I got the news, I think, a little bit late. No, I woke up, checked my message, and it was like, oh, good gracious, it's ending. That brought it all back, of course. But when NA was ending, there was a large amount of everyone coming together to just, well, be upset about it and upset about the short notice. And speculation about why that could have happened, and a lot of people coming together with various efforts to. There's a fan dubbing effort right now that's ongoing, various translation efforts, trying to get properly translated scripts. Obviously, for the things on NA, there were recordings, a lot of recording efforts to get every piece of story, every individual magical girls. like personal story and their outfit stuff, and get all of that information recorded. A lot of people trying to find ways to preserve like everyone's individual account data, just like to just so everyone can keep the memories of what they've got going for them, right? And all of the well, you can see the character name I chose here. Ha ha ha, game cross-pollination, right? But yeah, a lot of just a lot of people coming together, being inspired to write things, to share stories. Like a certain amount of the activity when things were more active on those servers was for things like the I guess, how do you call them, raids? I guess the Kimochi raids. I find it wild what things the subtitles choose to correctly render. Anyway, but like things that a certain amount of strategy is helpful for, and just helping each other in that way. So of course people were already in one place to be like, hey, we're really having a lot of feelings about this ending, and that momentum kept up for quite right up to the end of service, and a lot of people were sticking around on the server to watch end of service, and to watch the application go down. And I think I was hurrying to complete some things, actually, like because I was super late on the ball. I was obviously, my screen was recording throughout the thing because that do be how it is. But I believe I was trying to finish something up just as a last thing I was late for, just to prove I had done it. So I and a bunch of other people were on the game, either clicking through things or just waiting to see how long before we could stop navigating stuff. And I think it stayed up for like a chunk of time, and you could see sort of, I think there are recordings, I think I have recordings of when the game, started to not load things properly. And then the archive app was released to everyone, and that was a mess. I really hope they fixed it for this time, because they're once again promising an app to archive all of the data of the magical girls you've collected and stuff like that, with their information showing based on who you've actually successfully rolled for. But the data wasn't, when the NA version went down, the data didn't get transferred to it properly, perhaps, or it didn't download correctly, or it was in part poorly written, so that you couldn't scroll properly, you couldn't click into things properly, and there was a lot of like scoffing about that, because it was very clearly, or it seemed it was either very, very clearly hastily put together, because of the team probably got not much more warning than the public did, I would assume, for something that sudden. Alternatively, there was, you could say there might have been a lack of care, but I don't know if I would say that, because I don't know, things like this tend to involve at least a certain amount of labor of love by the teams directly working on them, right? But after that ended, I picked up my the original JP account once again, tried to get a little caught up on things. Obviously, that didn't work out super well, as you might see. Actually, I suppose I got fairly far through this, because in the story part, I got up to here-ish, I think. That was for part 1. And then for 2, I guess I got more than I thought. And then at some point I just sort of ended up not having as much time once again. And things dropped off. Oh yeah, the other story stuff, I just did not get to hardly at all. Could barely keep up with the main story. And obviously there are so many things left undone in the personal stories, and what have you, and the outfit stories. I'm really grateful to the people who are doing the good work of archiving this stuff, and translating it and making it available to people, or writing up summaries of everything, and just generally preserving this story, because that's one thing that's unfortunate about modern mobile games and gacha games particularly, anything that is heavily online reliant, is that once the servers go down, unless they in some way release some sort of preserved archive that contains the story, it is in many cases kind of lost, at least in coherent order. Obviously, there are people who are doing playthroughs online that are extensive, or people who have it, who are doing archived efforts. But in a very real way, everyone's individual personal experiences with the story end up lost, unless they have themselves been archiving their entire journey. Which, as a side note, is something that I think I might want to do with the new upcoming sort of successor game. I might actually start playing that on air. That would force me to keep up with it, at least having short daily streams of hey, this is what I'm up to, maybe. And it'll just, as with how I'm doing Elden Ring, it'll keep me accountable to, and as well as just keep the record there. Like, even stuff, like, obviously there are, everyone and their cousin is streaming stuff like Honkai Star Rail. So there's going to be a lot of record of that, and everything. So that probably won't be lost, especially in this era, this time where that's a fairly heavily streamed game. A lot of the people who contributed to like voice acting the characters and stuff, playing it, people doing like sponsored deals and things, they're part of this. I don't know if I would call it a post-COVID landscape. I don't, because I wasn't really into watching people do streams for the most part, until fairly recently. Just the end of last year, I think, for the most part. No, earlier than that, because I got into watching people stream things when Resident Evil 8 came out, about a couple months after that, I think. Because I ended up watching all of the, Resident Evil 8 signings and various streams, and even these days I kind of keep up with them. And I shan't say anything more about that. But yeah, I don't have a really good idea of how the streaming landscape was back in the 2017, which I suppose coincides with the approximate start of some of the more prominent older quote-unquote VTubers, right? So but the games that are well documented don't always include either gacha games that didn't have an extensive US release or what have you. Or even just some of the, like, there are a couple of games that do have a US release that physically within arm's reach of me, that just for whatever reason, can't be streamed cannot politely be streamed, or other people, or just games that don't get streamed a lot because people don't bother. At least the games that are like physical copies available, or otherwise, there's some level of preservation there. But for mobile games like this, footage is it. You can't replay. Sometimes even in the game, replaying the story is something that's limited in many ways. Event game boards, for example. I was getting distracted from, I guess, going through Magical Girls I had now, because I've got some like little stories, I suppose. Not altogether many. But Oh, funny story, funny story. So we've got Yachio here, right? And then we've also got Alina, who is, I know I've got at least one copy of her. There's the Holy Alina. But I think I've got her normal normal version. So I was trying to avoid spoilers, which I always have super limited success at, as evidenced by my repeated usage of the phrase approximate knowledge of many things. In this case, it wasn't a reading the fanfiction thing, because there wasn't a whole host of fanfiction at that time, particularly. It was just like meta posts on Tumblr. I was trying to like be careful of which ones that I read about that were heavily story-based. But I misread one quite egregiously, I think. So for the longest time, I was convinced that someone had made a pithy comment to refer to Alina, I think, as leg breaker, as in threatens to break people's legs, and given her characterization as being erratic and having her own particular common sense in terms of the application of violence, I was like, yeah, that checks out, that makes sense. But come to find out, when I finally got to the appropriate part of the story, and reading and being a little bit confused and reading more closely, no, that's they were not talking about Alina, the known violent one. No, they were talking about our, I guess, Deuteragonist, the secondary protagonist, what have you. But they were, I believe they were talking about Yachio, because she was threatening two of the at that time antagonist characters with leg breaking, I believe it was. That is to say, that was what was being threatened. I'm trying to remember the exact plot circumstances of that. But yeah, that was, I had a mistaken impression for months, and it was baffling to realize, for sure. But yes, so we've got that. We've got Oriko. Okay, first of all, as you might have noticed when you look at these dates, I reversed it. Kiriko's the one I got most recently, after putting in a quite amount of time on the selectable gacha, like near end of service. But I don't know, among the people I speak to, I feel like the manga, Oriko Magica, is just not well liked in general. But I don't know, I appreciate it. The art style is very unique. I don't mean that necessarily in the euphemism way. I mean, in terms of Madoka illustrations, it doesn't really fit in with how the characters are modeled in these games, in the anime, in the movie, in a number of the other manga. It is very out there, and it gets a lot of criticism for that. But I think it's a perfectly fine art style. It just stands out so aggressively much for this story. And then this story itself has a lot going on, that it doesn't... The art style is a stumbling block for a lot of people, and that doesn't endear them particularly well toward the rest of it. But I think I might just be a sucker for precogs making questionable decisions, and people with altogether too much devotion floating around. I don't know. Perhaps that's just me. But then again, I like the Madoka series, so, you know, we're all here together in that, aren't we? Or I suppose most of us are. Can't imagine... Anyway. Yeah, I can't imagine someone who would be aggressively anti that and still be sticking around, right? But, yeah, so I played through, like, a lot of all the Arc 1 stories. Just scrolling through these, I remember them relatively clearly, because I played them when they were coming out, when I had the time. And so it's just interesting to go back through them and have like the stories reoccur to me. And at some point, I wonder if that's something we could really do. Like, this channel's not monetized, right? It's probably not going to be for an age and a half. So I mean, it wouldn't be for profit if we happen to review the story as it's available on various other platforms where people have archived it, especially now when it becomes no longer available. So it's not like we're leeching money off anywhere because we physically can't pay for it anymore. So that's something we might look into later, just because I would like to go back to look at the story, right? And just sort of relive all of that and catch the parts that I didn't necessarily see properly the first time. And maybe we could have an aggressive amount of commentary over it or something. I mean, obviously I can't stop talking when I find something to talk about. But yeah, what stories have I told? I have told... oh right, the Nanoha things. That's another one of those series I got into relatively late in terms of, like, long after, obviously, it aired. Sometime in the last couple of years, contemporaneous with when I, just after I was introduced to Madoka, it had to have been, because I had I still have something of an aversion to an excessive amount of such things that are implied to be very pink. I don't know, it's just a bright color that I'm not overly fond of, same as bright orange and sunshine yellow in large amounts. And that, between that and the whole society and everything being pink, and the things compound one another until it's not a color I'm overly fond of. In my foolishness, I thus avoided such series as related to magical girls and things like that, for quite a while. I suppose in part in foolishness, but also because, that would have invited more misconceptions about the things that I am interested in, which is to say, the plot is cool, not the trappings. I don't care about those over much. But that's an exploration for another time. My point being, not aside from anything else, of course, Nanoha is an older series, and getting everything in English was something of a trial when I was watching it. So it was super neat when there was the collab, and I was like, I've got to roll for everyone. That is always one benefit of starting out the version of the game in English that doesn't have a global release that comes after the initial release. You get just a little bit of of pre-planning available, a little bit of future knowledge about what the upcoming banners are going to look like and what you want to save your premium currency for, or your free currency even. So that was, and I think at some point there must have been a rerun, because or possibly, yeah, because I don't think I was playing both games at, I don't think I rolled initially for the Nanoka characters when they had things on JP, but I definitely had them in both versions of the game. So, and obviously, clearly I have, yeah, I've got a couple of slots. And, I did not mean to click into all of these menus. And we're all the way back here. But yeah, for obviously, for some units, I ended up rolling significantly more on, just because, Homer's cool, and I mean, some of it was a matter of advantageousness, for Minikube. Mokyu. Player character son. What a rendition of that. I don't think I'll be able to make the subtitles not do that one, unfortunately. But yeah, extremely maxed out, because aside from being like a cool concept, and also being like just quite a powerful unit, so that's always good to have. And then some of the holiday ones, again, I didn't roll for all of them, at least not all at the same time. But the benefits of either future knowledge or just not wanting to get every single unit, because we'll take a look at the, like I said, I've got those leftover rolls, right? And I'm going to have to, gotta use those up, and so we'll take a look at who the available event units are, and oh, there are so many. That's not even all of them. I think a lot of the anniversary ones aren't even on that list, which is kind of weird. You'd think that there would be like one last roll available for the anniversary units and stuff, just as the game's ending, for the people who hadn't got them and who just want to like have closure and get them at the end. Obviously, they stopped taking payment for more gems and stuff when they announced the end of service, but some people had, for example, those you get a I think daily amount for a month. Some people still had those running, and some people obviously had built up free gems, stuff like that. So, interesting story about these two, actually. So in part, Momoko, I got in part just for strategic reasons, because for the strategy at the time, she was recommended, and also I feel like there was a pun somewhere. Digging back into those memories, But no, I guess the funny story is here. Right. So, hold on, let's, I'm always terrified, I'm not terrified, kind of terrified, that I'm, like, gonna drastically misremember basic information, right? I would like this, this browser is a disaster, honestly. Good thing I checked, because I did misremember basic information. Alright, so Kanagi, the vampire version, right? We can actually, I guess, watch through her... can I access it from here, or do I need to access it from elsewhere? Her acquisition animation. I think I'm going to have to get it from the archives. But I think I saw like that information in like a video or a preview or something. And I didn't like it. Like, cinematically, it's cool and it's neat and stuff. But the story time here is when you are watching the news and the news says be cautious of the footage that they have obtained, and you can go onto the news, whatever the news like company's website, and they'll be like, they're like, we have the footage and we're allowed to show it to you for journalism purposes, but be cautious. Listen to them, because my fool youthful self, it didn't, and it left me with a distinct lack of fondness for And that's all we're going to say about that. I do recommend not looking up that any further. But as a result, when we were when I was looking at the animations and stuff for the new characters around this time, we're going to show this one here, and really? Oh, we don't have it downloaded. Yeah, you're saved for now. We can probably look that up on another screen. Actually, can we set that to downloading while I just talk? Is that a thing? What do the settings look like? Because I had to reinstall this like twice today, for various reasons. That was my friend ID. I don't suppose that's going to matter very soon, but well. You know, avoiding things that are upsetting isn't a bad thing to do by any means, nor is it particularly because I had to reinstall this a few times and it did not download all the updates. I hope you've been app where everyone's data can be saved / stored, as it were. I hope they figured out all the based on the Madoka universe. If you watch anime and haven't seen so one's mileage will obviously vary, but I've heard enough to recommend it. So we're just waiting on this here because I was just sharing a story of I was going through the different characters I've rolled for in the past, and I was actually sharing a short story about one of them, one of the Halloween units, I suppose it was. Oh, I hope that downloaded correctly because we're not gonna... Yeah, okay, we don't need the voices, we just need the animations. I'll go back and grab those in some other point in time. But one of these characters up here is Halloween unit, and I was just sharing the story of when they came out. I believe I had a chance to look at either promotional videos or maybe someone else's recordings of their summoning animations or possibly their transformation animations. And the reason I have this character, because I was like, about rolling for either of the Halloween units. This one, Momoko, I ended up getting for strategic reasons as much as anything else. But this one in particular, I think I mostly rolled for out of spite? Spite? I don't know if that's the correct word. But so... Do you know what this says, or do you guess? So I actually played the North American version of this game when it came out. So for initially when I started playing the game, the Japanese version, about 6 months after it started, I was very much guessing. I had a couple of names memorized because I read like meta posts, and then after a while I used a little bit of Google Translate, but of course that's super inconvenient to do on the regular. And this is like for context here, I've hooked up my actual phone to a daisy chain of cables to a capture card. Not even my normal capture card, my old capture card, and that is what I have shoved into my computer, into OBS. So I didn't even have a convenient like emulated translation software or something available to me. So for a while it was a lot of guessing, like even going through the story, there was me looking at the characters at limited animation expressions and sort of guessing the vibes of the story based on the illustrations. This is actually the game that introduced me to Live 2D actually. Funnily enough, because when the North American version came, and I was super excited, and I started playing that, and mostly dropped the Japanese version, kind of kept up with the dailies for a little, but I played through the North American one quite avidly, and all of that was, of course, written in English. The voice acting and stuff was still all of the Japanese voice actors, except for one, at the time, North American exclusive character who had an American voice actor. When they were brought to the Japanese version of the game after North America shut down, all the lines for that character are now in Japanese, which I think is a questionable decision, but that's neither here nor there with the game shutting down tomorrow, of course. But because I played the North American one for quite a while, I recognize, I sort of just know what some of these things say or what they're meant to be depicting, even if I don't remember the exact words. And then some of them I have a limited amount of ability to read because I was practicing Japanese on Duolingo for a while and have let that lapse immensely, and I should get back to it. I managed to keep it up for nearly a year straight, and then attention span due. But between all of that and then just reading meta posts where people have actually properly bothered to like look up the names and how those should be rendered in English, I basically just know what things say. I can't really read it for the most part. But yeah, where was I saying? Oh yeah, this character. So if you're watching the news, like just a news channel, doesn't really matter which one, and they're talking about a story, and it's a very alarming story, and then they're like, by the way, we have some footage related to this event on our website. And you go on their website, and there is a large warning saying, viewer discretion is advised, please don't watch this. I would advise strongly considering listening to them. And while that's all we're going to say about that, when this character came out, and I saw their transformation animation, which we're about to pull up now, even though I navigated to the wrong menu for the third time tonight, that animation immediately and quite viscerally reminded me of the thing I absolutely should have listened to the warning about. And I was like, well, I can't keep avoiding, like, I got the distinct feeling at that moment, like, if I should still roll for this person, because if I avoid the character just because of this one thing, then I'll just be avoiding things that vaguely remind me of it for ever, and it's a dumb reason to avoid cool characters in video games and stuff like that. And I mean, that's not always how it works, obviously, right? Sometimes it's just more healthful to let things lie for a while and, let your brain sort of take fade the alarming bits and edges off of the knowledge. And sometimes it's just like, you don't need to deal with something and it's statistically unlikely to come up again. So if it's not troubling you on the regular, you could just you could just not address it, and let it fade into the background. But in my case, I felt like I was being stubborn, because I do that sometimes. So this was the I believe this would be the summoning animation, and it's like, obviously you can tell character's the vampire version of the character, blah blah blah, blood magic or whatever. So like, warning for that if that's something you're sensitive to, obviously. Also warning for claustrophobia. but yeah, I just ended up looking up, I guess, the summoning or transformation animation beforehand. I was like, even just now, my brain was just like, let's remind you of the thing you were just talking about. And I was like, I'm gonna be stubborn and roll for this character anyway. And I did, and proceeded to put just as many resources as into any of the other ones. Like, neat character. Just, I don't know, weird memory. Yeah, that was what the video was. And like, you know, free insight. It wasn't the claustrophobia thing. It was just the very specific combination of elements there that reminded me of a particular news article I should not have looked at. And it... I mentioned it earlier. I'm not going to mention it again. Still advise not looking it up. But you could go back if you really want to know in the VOD. Because I was chattering on about this and staying on about the same screen for a while. So it'll show up if you scroll back. But yeah, I don't know if do I have any other particularly interesting stories here? Oh, this is the character who used to be exclusively North America. Ashley Taylor. Ah, yes. A very American, non-Japanese name. In universe, I believe she is a weeb who moved to Japan for reasons of fashion, or something of that nature. And her lines used to all be in English when she was the North America exclusive character, and then proceeded to not be. So I think someone must have saved her recordings of her lines and stuff. I think I might have. Again, I've got a bunch of old recordings that I just did not organize properly of the NA version, so we might go over those at some point if I'm feeling bored. Not tonight. It's definitely on the late side tonight. We're gonna get the gacha roll stuff done, and then I'm gonna go asleep. But yeah. So we've got that. Let's see. Yeah, just a bunch of other characters, some of whom were more characters that spooked me when I was rolling, rather than ones I was rolling specifically for. In fact, a lot of them were spooks, I think. Because because I played the game initially on JP and then on NA for a while, so I had the future knowledge in terms of what banners were coming up. And then when reruns started rolling around, of course, I used that to sort of pick out, you know, who I was going to roll for, and so I could be a little bit more particular about saving up free currency. The JP version, I don't think I ever spent much money on. I spent I think I managed to spend like $5 or so near the end, but because the process with the Japanese game involves routing like money through the Google Play Store, or the Japanese Google Play Store, and I didn't get the hang of the gift cards and all of that nonsense. I just never bothered with it. On the NA one, I think I stayed with the little $5 monthly packages for a while there, and then obviously that shut down. So I never really invested much monetarily in this particular game. Just time. Just time. No, this was a funny one. So, Homura, the protagonist / secondary... I don't know how you describe the protagonist levels of anyone in Madoka. That's just a secondary thing all to itself. She's got the devil version of her. And there's like a serious version, who I have over here. And then there's the cartoon looking version. And people always joked for the longest time that if they ever released the serious looking version, then you'd know to keep an eye out for the game closing. And obviously this, if you can see by the date, that was like a year ago. So that turned out to be something of a false prediction. But people were thinking that just because, I mean, that would be a super popular character for people to roll for. So if that would be sort of like if they want to practically print money, that's when they would release a character like that. I wasn't keeping too close of an eye on the game at that time. Honestly, I came back, spent some of my saved up premium currency, and rolled on this banner, on the anniversary banner, just because I like favorite characters and stuff, and then I wanted this version of the character, but it did not turn out to be quite as prophetic as people were thinking, or as much of a litmus test as people were thinking. So that's really going through all the versions of characters that I have, some of whom I got quite late. Like, this is a character who was from Arc 1, and as you can tell, I got them. I mean, it's close to a year ago, but like, it's still quite a long time since the game started in 2017, right? So we've gone through all of the characters I have, really. Or skimmed through them, at least. We're going to do a bit of gacha with the rest of these free rolls that I have. So as a point of reference, here is all of the available characters we can select for the free, like, choose your own banner. I guess... Oh, interesting. I didn't realize Ashley Taylor was one of them. Because some of these units, like some of the anniversary units, I think are not actually in here. Like the non-cartoon versions of these, for example. And I believe some of the collaboration units are also not here. The collab ones make sense. There have to be licensing issues in terms of that. But some of these I'm actually surprised we don't have versions of here, just because, like I said, the anniversary units would be pretty, I mean, they'd be pretty nice to have, right? With the game shutting down, they'd be the units that people would be most likely to have perhaps missed out on, just because of the amount, how limited they would have been in their initial releases. Yeah, and we've just got... I don't even know what order these are supposedly sorted in. It's not entirely seniority. So... actually, it might be alphabetical with regard to kanji or katakana, perhaps? Or something. I don't know. My knowledge of language, or lack thereof, rears its head. But yeah, I was gonna roll on this dual character unit for now and see if we get spooked by anyone else along the way. So, let us get started with... Gosh, these are 10 rolls? I'm gonna have to clear out my inventory at some point. We are going to... as one might be able to tell, I cannot read this, but my trusty Google Translate on another device can. So... what's this saying? Process. No internet. Why is there no internet connection? I'm very manifestly connected to the internet. I mean, if you can still hear me, I'm definitely connected to the internet, right? I don't know. Oh, right. That device is just not feeling it. But internet has worked in some capacity, so it's currently, you've selected the Masara and Kokoro bride version dual unit. Will perform 10 gacha rolls. Is that okay? And then you can play the remaining so-and-so for free. A lot of free. So basically just press OK on this one then. Okay then. Can do. Can do. Let's see what we got. Oh, and we don't get voice lines because I didn't download voice lines. I'm gonna go back and actually do that before we do these. Videos downloaded, yes, but I should also have the voice lines. You can actually tell from that starting screen sometimes if you're going... There are things that will show up on that screen that will guarantee that you're going to have a natural 4-star, which is the highest level that you can roll in terms of character units. And then there are things you can see on these screens that will tell you if you've either got a natural 4-star character unit or a what's called a memoria, which is like the equipment items. Just saying you found it. Say, I am very sorry that you saw that, and I, again, recommend sometimes not letting your curiosity get the better of you. But I suppose you understand now why I thought what I did when I saw that animation initially. But yeah, no, again, recommend not looking that sort of thing up when the article warns against it. But yeah, no. We're going to go back here. Up. And none of these are showing. Okay, we're gonna... What does this actually show us? 58. 58 10 rolls. Jesus, they gave us an obscene number of these things. Normally when they give out free rolls, it's in the singles. You know, free single rolls. I mean, obviously, it kind of makes sense that they'd be giving out, that's not the menu I want to be... That's also not the menu I want to be in. We want the voices. How much are you gonna take? Three gigabytes. I started playing Honkai Star Rail, right? And I believe they're both by Hoyoverse. And I like that a fair amount. But obviously, because the combat's turn-based, which is good for being able to pick it up and put it down, but not so good for, I don't know, part of what's engaging about games like I guess Elden Ring and Bloodborne is just the zooming around and smacking things apart, really. And it looks like Zenless Zone Zero might have a bit more of that. So, you know, I might want to give that a try at some point. Actually, I downloaded on my PlayStation is where I downloaded them. I downloaded that on a device within arm's reach of me, which specifies nothing, really. So I might also give that a go. There's, I guess, a long list of things that, depending on what I feel like, I'll probably just start one in the middle of the night at some point. Zenless Zone Zero is on the list. Whatever the sequel Madoka game is, or spiritual sequel, definitely on that list. I have heard good things about Metal Gear Solid, and there was a, like, package sale thing at some point. So I have that. So I might start that as well. Don't like Star Rail or Genshin much better. What are the differences that you've seen? I never actually played Genshin, so Yeah, no, it was really just Grand Order to Magia Record to Honkai Star Rail. This is going to take 500 years, so I think we're going to... That was not the button I wanted. Whoop. We're going to not have that for a while. That is the danger of not remembering where all of your buttons live. We have a button specifically for covering the screen. Haha. You notice that we did not do that. And that's still trying to download something. Yeah, the VOD of this will be going up a little bit later. But connected to an external display. Of a given unit. And then this was like a comparison, or like on average. Honkai's not good with the gacha either, and then it's turn-based. Yeah, turn-based I like to a certain extent. Again, especially if I'm doing other things, for example, or liable to be distracted. But a lot of the time, less turn-based things are more engaging. I did calculate the Honkai Star Rail gacha rate for character units was, in comparison to Grand Order and Magia Record, it was okay. I don't remember how the exact numbers shook out, but it was comparable orders of magnitude, just in terms of because both games have something of, all three games have something of a pity system. So they so there is an upper bound to how much it would cost to get you at least a single unit of a character. I believe, yeah, I calculated because the Hoyoverse games have a 50-50. Magia Record had a character coin thing where if you spent enough on a single gacha, you could just outright buy a single unit, single one of the rate up unit. And then Fate Grand Order, I think, had a hard, both a soft pity and a hard Gotcha animation, combat with a parry system. It's got a parry system. Neat. I mean, I suppose if it's the newest title from the same people, they probably learned that random episodes of me reading appears on one of the probably not the main YouTube channel and not the VOD one, but rather a secondary channel that I have, also linked below. Good story game to recommend, but yeah, that does tend to be how it is when one is asked for recommendations. It does rather turn into I've forgotten everything I've ever recommended in my life. But yeah, if you think of anything neat, let me know. And I mean, if it's something I've already thought of, then it will definitely push it near the top of the queue. Like I said, there are a lot of things vying for that position, so to a certain extent, Fridays will always be a FromSoft game. It has been my plan, because I want to get through all of them. I might as well iron out the space for it. But in terms of like the random streams I try to do at least once a week, those could be really anything that strikes my fancy, including just you know, any number of other games. So anyway, now that we've got basic videos and voices downloaded, let's see if how many of these 10 rolls we can get through. So like I said, on this screen you can see the preview of its water character and then the picture in the bottom right. Oh! Speak of the devil. The rainbow swirly things in the background show this is going to be a 4-star. Yep, a 4-star Memoria, so the equipment cards. But if you see Rainbow Wind, I believe it is, Rainbow something like that, that'll tell you it's going to be a natural 4-star character card. And if you see in the preview screen, a little like group picture of the entire main cast. That will also tell you it's guaranteed to be a Nat 4 star. I believe I have seen them appear without showing those signs in the preview occasionally. Not often, and I would have to dig up the records thereabout. But I am given to know 'tis true. Yeah, we're getting a bunch of light card. A lot of obviously a lot of lower rarity cards that I've gotten before. So if I'm clicking through them so quickly on account of like you can see if you're gonna get a high rarity one, like I said. Not really a story game kind of guy, because dialogue is tedious, but you play some. Yeah, I can definitely see how it can be. Whereas I'm very much more of a story sort of person, because that, I don't know, it's easier for me to follow the goings-on if that's an integral part of the story, or integral part of the gameplay, for certain. But of course, if it's something that's all story, at that point, it's more of a kinetic novel, and that immediately turns into not necessarily something to stream unless the whole point is, you know, archiving the whole footage, which is a valuable job for people to do, but not necessarily one I would be interested in doing in most cases. At least without adding some sort of, well, as the cool kids and also lawyers say, transformative element, such as me chattering on incessantly. Speaking of which, take a quick drink of water. Alright. Too much dialogue in Pokemon? Yeah, I could definitely see that. I suppose, like, there are definitely games you can sort of, like, skip through and do just a bunch of things that don't require all the dialogue, but yeah, no, following along with everything. That it is, for, in the end, still story-based. No one new here. And yeah, nothing particularly indicating anything here. Do you have any particular favorite Pokemon or favorite generation, favorite game? Oh, Rainbow Memoria. That's nice. I think I've had one copy of that already. I try to get a good screenshot of any new card, just because it's hard to find high quality images of these online, so it ends up being a case... Oh, Rainbow again. Memoria. A case of me sort of getting my own images. For a while there, I had to quite carefully and precisely take screenshots between the glimmering elements on screen to get clean images. But of course, that at some point I realized I could just, like, take screen recordings and then capture these by frame in a software. Learned that quite late. Gen 8 was the one you finished, but favorite's probably 6 because you like the megas. Very neat, very neat. I still need to properly play X and Y, I suppose it is. But I went back to play Alpha Sapphire and Omega Ruby on account of, because first Pokemon games I ended up playing were Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald. And so those obviously have a special place in my heart, and if I, you know, any time they do anything with those, I must follow. But X and Y are also ones that I've heard quite good things about. Oh, that is a new one. Okay, save. I suppose locking these cards won't be worth very much in just under 24 hours, but we do what we must while we can. Oh, right, in terms of end of service, interesting things. They, bias for Gen 6 because of your favorite anime. Yeah, one's favorite anime will definitely color that. I haven't been caught up in the anime in quite a long time. Like, quite a long time. Way back. I wouldn't have even called myself caught up while the Ruby Sapphire Emerald Gen... Was that Gen 3? I keep getting mixed up, but I suppose that must have been, right? While that anime was going on. Certainly the last time I had watched a substantial number of episodes was back then. And then time and busyness, you know, does what it does. At some point I really should see about maybe watching some of the stuff that I've missed, because you know, the details of episodes and stuff just make their way online whenever anything particularly interesting happens. So I've absorbed a little bit of different things throughout the years, and then people, you know, do write various things based on the happenings therein. But yeah, I don't have a lot of the knowledge. Just want more approximate knowledge of many things, I suppose. Oh. Yeah, I think I have that one already. I really should not skip through these quite as fast, because you can see what's up, you can preview what's upcoming, but you gotta actually give it a chance to show up on screen. Right. Oh god, there's 530 rolls left. Suppose we can try to click through them a little faster, see what we can get done here. I suppose it would be more tense rolling the gacha if it wasn't so very end of service, and then just because I haven't been caught up in so long, I'm not aggressively invested in rolling for any number of the characters. Like, because Kiriko was the last one I wanted to get just to complete the set of characters from that manga. But these two I like. They're neat, and the parts of their story I remember are neat. So that's why I picked out the dual unit that I picked for the raid up on this one. No particular reasons. What's my favorite gen? So part of me wants to say Gen 3 again, but I feel like that I'm super biased toward that because of that being when I started. So if we to get a more interesting and perhaps useful answer, aside from Gen 3, which one would I consider favorite? I actually like Scarlet and Violet a fair amount. Obviously, I think my answer would probably change if I had actually played Black and White 2, X and Y, because those are super well regarded. So I have a somewhat limited pool here. But out of all the rest of them, I do like Scarlet and Violet, just because, I don't know, the characters are quirky. The DLC, or not the DLC, the post game was pretty neat. There was a suitable amount of weird family drama / tragedy, which, as we all know, is always interesting to have the player character awkwardly observing. And I liked a lot about how everything played, although I definitely will say I would like them to bring back the whole having buildings, like random outside buildings with interiors. Because if you'll notice for Scarlet and Violet, I believe the only building we could actually go into is the school building. Everything else was only an exterior set, right? Well, and I think, am I remembering correctly? I think possibly some of the, like, league buildings and gyms and stuff. But, like, aside from, like, very specific, areas like that, there weren't any, like, random flavor text buildings to enter. There weren't any, like, wandering into random people's houses to be like, hi, I've never met you before. Greetings. And I just thought that was a really fun thing to be able to do, and it really fleshed out your sense of space and made it a little less flat in the earlier games to navigate. My favorite Pokemon? Again, the easy answer is Rayquaza. So let's take the easy answer out of the equation, and say, and also my first starter, which was Torchic, so take that out of the equation, because that's not going to give a fair shake to anyone. So I like fire types a lot, and dragons, of course. At the same time, would it be a little on the nose to say I actually really like Houndoom? It's hard to pick a favorite necessarily, just because there are so many Pokemon that you can like for so many different reasons. And of course you often end up having, like, or at least I do, a soft spot for basically the entire roster of the first generation you get into, or at least I do. But Houndoom has always been kinda neat. So, I guess at this precise moment, that's who I'd say. Of course, you point me at a dragon Pokemon and I will probably say, ah yes, I like that one. So, you know, that's also gonna be part of the equation. Let's see. Can I have any of these be upgraded and take up less space? That is the problem with having, like, a quadrillion random free rolls left, right? You actually start running low on inventory. Well, I suppose I won't end up actually using these for, Do you have a favorite Pokemon? Let's see, let's put these... Oh, I did have room for one more of these. The different leveling up systems for, the equipment cards for this game, compared to Fate Grand Order. Magia Record and Fate Grand Order are in many ways so close together as to when I was learning how to play this game, because of course I wasn't in English at the time. I was essentially comparing everything to Fate Grand Order to get a handle on it in my head. But because they are in many ways very similar, but in some ways rather different, that definitely tripped me up more than a few times. Which is always interesting. Ooh, Chandelure. That is an excellent choice. Yes. Why does this scroll me back up to the top? That is not the button I meant. Okay, all of the scrolling. Can we grab any of the ones from the bottom? I could swear there were a couple of these that, oh, yep, a couple. Well, I guess actually the next question, if we're keeping with the Pokemon topic, what's your favorite evolution? I think I have a particular soft spot for Jolteon myself. I think for as much as I really like dragons and fire types, I think for a long time there I also then if I had to pick a third element I was relatively attached to, it had to be electric. I'm not sure if that ever changed or it's just there aren't I never found I don't always find the roster of electric types compelling in any given game, but certainly as a result, Jolteon has a special place in my heart for some reason. Umbreon and Glaceon. Think Glaceon more. Very neat. Very, as they say, cool of you. Do we have space in here? Yeah, I think that's all the space we're going to make. Yeah, we're not going to reasonably spend all of these. But we'll definitely be able to hit pity and we'll see what if any, the pity roll is going to be. So the pity system in this game is after 100 rolls, you're guaranteed to get a natural 4-star, but it's not guaranteed to be the banner one. Actually, I suppose I should check if we get the fancy coins. No, we do. I've seen them accumulating at the end of rolls. You like all the evolutions except Espeon. Interesting. Any particular reason why? Hello, Zartex Vertigen. Unfortunately, no links in the chat, please. But feel free to stick around, and watch random gacha rolling if you'd like. Let's see. Yep, definitely gonna hit pity here. I mean, that is about what we expect. Truly, if you're not putting the true force of the heart of the cards into your gacha rolls, what do you expect to accrue? But no, yeah, so when you reach 100, a counter of 100, you're guaranteed to get a nat 4-star. It's not necessarily going to be the one you're aiming at, but you do get the little green coins that you see at the bottom of the corner. And then if you go into the shop, yeah, if you end up with a certain number of them, you'll be able to pick out anyone you want off of the banner. Which in this case is basically anyone except for the collab characters and the anniversary ones, for some reason. Looks like the various shop options are still here. Absolutely pointless to do this, since there are only so many moments left. Oh, okay, there's an infinite number of those. Oh, okay, to unlock. They just dropped everything in the shop to let you unlock it if you don't already have it. Makes sense, makes sense. I guess I do appreciate that. That does mean I'm going to have to re-back up my account data. Because like I said, or I guess I mentioned this before you got here, the various people, when the ends of service is announced, start working on stuff to preserve game data, perhaps. or to just to be able to save it as a sort of time capsule of what everyone's had in their accounts. So I, just taking all of the just basic files, like text files, being like, oh yeah, you have this character, this is the level they're at, and stuff like that. Probably wouldn't say that out loud, except for it really doesn't matter much anymore now, does it? So we've got all of those, this and that. Indeed, this and that. We've got all of the... most of the available event. Everyone's. Don't like Espeon because it's just kind of bland. Also out of spite because you accidentally turned your shiny Eevee into a Espeon instead of Umbreon. Yep, that would do it. That would indeed do it. That definitely sounds like an unfortunate happening. Have you had many shinies? I mean, I guess the recent games make them much easier to get in comparison to the older ones, but I suppose any that particularly stick out to you in your history of playing the game? I think my first shiny Pokemon was a Venonat in one of the Game Boy Advance games. And I know it had to be in one of those because there was a weird, like, saving glitch, I guess, behavior, where I was able to, I think, duplicate said Venonat and then evolve one and not the other. And I think that was still ended up both of them lost to time because of some other things with my game cartridges. And, of course, my fool self did end up selling some of my Game Boy Advance Pokemon games. And then, of course, later, because I want to, like, continue to be able to play them on stuff, I ended up going and buying another copy. But that was after the price had spiked quite a bit. So that was lesson learned, I suppose, that some things are liable to keep going up in price and to hold on to your video games, especially all your hard copies of things that don't require downloads, right? All the more fool to me. Yes, just buying out all the random stuff they dropped in the shop on the grounds of... Oh god, there's so much more stuff. You know what? I will come back to that. Like, I might go back online tomorrow. Do a few more rolls today, but I might, including this one that's about to hit pity. And then I might try to go back online tomorrow. Before the end of service for a little while. Probably not during the end of service, because I might have want to just sort of attend the various, what I assume will be a server-wide sort of sentimental this and that about it. But, well, we shall see. We shall see. But yeah, let's see about hitting pity on this gacha. And then it is getting to be much later than I anticipated, so I'll probably... of course we accidentally filled up the inventory again. What was I expecting? What was I expecting? I think I pressed the right button. It's really hard when you can't read any of them. Got the Eevee in Pokemon Go, so you don't really count it, but your first shiny was in Gen 8. Shiny Aerodactyl. You didn't even... Yeah, it's one of the ones that doesn't look too different. Took you a year. Oh, good gracious. How did you ever figure it out if they look so similar? And you weren't really thinking about that being a possibility? Okay, all of the ones of these that are level 50. Just shoveling a bunch of these. Anything that's not equipped to someone. Oh, for goodness sake. Not equipped. I like how I keep saying, click the ones that aren't equipped, and then I keep not following that advice to myself within several seconds. Come on. Because I believe all the things in the side inventory will get picked up as well. I mean, I hope so. Again, not that it'll matter overly much, but the record is good to have. Okay, book 1. Just going through your box because he was trading with a friend and you see the Aerodactyl and the shiny icon next to it. Ah. Oh yeah, that would make sense because you wouldn't really examine it that much. Alright, hitting pity. Now that we've cleared out the inventory for the upteenth time. Interesting. I believe I read that correctly. So this would be, if indeed this is hitting the pity counter, then this would be one of those times where we did not see the, like, group picture in the bottom right-hand corner. So let's see. Oh, yeah. Rainbow background things and the petals across the side mean it's a character unit. Yeah, so that's exactly on the, 100, I think. Oh, this is a new one. Also not the character I selected for Raid Up, but I guess they're all available in this banner. What's this? Oh, that's interesting. I did not know Kazumi was a— oh! Back to back? That's wild. That's wild luck. Back to back on the end of the— back to back new character— oh! They're the Raid Up ones! Speak of the devil! My gosh. My gosh. I was like, oh, it's not a new one, but not the Raid Up. And then we get them right afterward? What are the odds? And that's like at the very start of the 100, which is, you know, obviously the best time to restart the pity counter again, just at point 1. Very nice. Yeah, many— yeah, thank you. But yeah, that was wild. Statistically very wild. Truly, the true spirit of gacha is tricking it into thinking that you have no care of it in the middle of the night/morning. That's when I've had my best luck, as evidenced. But also just throughout games, throughout roles in general, I suppose. But also super wild that we got— oh, a third one! What the hell? Is there, like, quadruple more, like, extra Raid Up while you Raid Up? A second copy as well. What the hell? That's wild as shit. I mean, I appreciate it. What the— absolutely wild. But yeah, so you can tell before the card actually shows up, because you get the warning of the petals across the screen for a character card and the rainbow in the background for a 4-star. But good grief! That's absurd. That is absurd. But as I was saying about the first one that we got in that series of peculiar events, I didn't realize that particular character was in the game, because there was one of the events with one of the tie-in manga was Kazumi Magica, and so that one of the characters, shall we say, bears a strong resemblance to this one. But I believe this is just straight up the other character who must have come either during a rerun or during a second event. What the hell? Very neat. Excel Blast Charge. I really do hope someone sets up the, a bunch of outfits. Huh. I really do hope somebody sets up some sort of archive viewing sort of situation, because that would be really cool to be able to actually give these characters some more attention that I'm really not, of course, able to give them right now because of the whole end of game situation. I didn't even realize these two had been released. I think they had alternate something in there. Where was this in the character card? I think it was in here? Oh, no, wait. Duh, button on the side. Gotta wake up in about 4.5 hours. You go to bed. Yeah, I think I'm gonna end stream probably right about now. Oh, that's interesting. But yeah, after that wildly bizarre success in the power of gacha, I think I'm going to call it here for tonight. I'm probably going to come back online sometime tomorrow, again before the end of service. Whenever that is, so probably on the earlier side in the afternoon for a little while, to see if I can do a couple more rolls and get similarly wild results. Just to experience the nonsense on record there. But as for that, then I think, yeah, that shall be all. Probably join again next stream. Good night. Yep, have a good night. Have a good night, dear listener, and thank you for tuning in. Until next time, take care, rest well, travel safe if you're gonna do any traveling, driving, what have you. Don't fall over. And remember that you are precious and unique in all the world. You are irreplaceable yourself and any other dear listeners out there, each and every one. Rest well, and good night.